Welcome. I would love to talk to you today about Microsoft Flow. So I'm Steven Siciliano. I'm the Group Program Manager for Flow here at Microsoft. Just by a show of hands, how many people in the audience have actually used Flow at some point? OK, so about half of you. That's great to see. So what I'm going to be talking about today is how you can use Flow to build process automation for your organization. And I'm going to start with some background on Microsoft Flow, how it fits into the Power Platform. I'm going to show some building of Flow. So for those of you that haven't ever seen Flow before or used it, this is your opportunity to see how it's done. And for those of you that have used Flow before, hopefully I'll show you some things that you haven't seen before and that you're not familiar with. I'll definitely be talking about testing and monitoring flows, getting the processes to be robust and reliable as you build them and use them inside of your organization. As this is a developer audience, I wanted to spend some time talking about application lifecycle management. It's actually one of the biggest questions that we get. I've been at the booth a little bit this week, and a lot of people have come by and asked me, what's the ALM story? What's the CI/CD story for Microsoft Flow? So I'll talk a little bit about that. And finally, another really common question I get is, what's the difference between Flow and Logic apps? I mean, how many people in this audience kind of have that question and know of both things and are wondering what the deal is with that? Great. So I'll definitely touch on that as well, and then go ahead and wrap it up. Hopefully, I will have time at the end for questions as well. So just taking a step back and talking about why we are building Flow in the first place. It's because today, inside of organizations, there are a lot of different systems out there that data lives, that processes are operating in. Everything from email to Excel spreadsheets to files stored in the cloud, legacy systems. All of these different things don't natively talk to each other. And there's no way easily to natively get data to move between them. So what's happening is people, the end users inside of your organization, the people using your applications, are building this all out themselves by pointing and clicking. They're copying and pasting data. They're opening up an Excel spreadsheet, looking at all of the rows, doing all of these things by hand. And people can do that. I mean, they've been doing it for decades now. But there's a better way. And there's a better way by using automation. Automation can empower all of the people that are bringing these systems together and release them from these manual tasks that they have to do every single day, so that way they can build something that is very simple, but that can accomplish the tasks that they were doing before. So this is really the goal with Microsoft Flow, is to infuse automation alongside what everybody is already doing inside of their day-to-day work. So before I talk more about Flow, I want to mention RPA. How many people have heard of RPA? OK, so almost as many people who have even used Flow. So I'm curious what the intersect of that is. But for those of you who haven't heard of RPA, what it is about is it's about automating tasks on people's PCs. It's about automating tasks on people's desktops. And RPA recently has been gaining a lot of attention in the market. There's been a lot of startups and investment and companies learning about RPA, implementing RPA. And that's really great because it's all about automation, right? It's about automating the tasks that people do. But in one sense, we think that Microsoft Flow can really move beyond the task automation that's happening on people's PCs to have a holistic, intelligent automation service that goes beyond these simple tasks and allows non-technical users to bridge all the systems inside of their company, infuse it with intelligence from the awesome capabilities we have here at Microsoft with AI and the cognitive services. And to do this all without requiring a complex IT deployment, which often is required for RPA scenarios. So we really see Flow as kind of the future of what's going on in this space, the intelligent process automation as going above and beyond what you could do today with RPA. So Flow is part of the Microsoft Power Platform. And the Power Platform is a low-code platform. Now, that doesn't mean it's no code. I mean, we are here at Build, after all. Hopefully, most of you are familiar with code, right? But Microsoft Power Platform does minimize the amount of code that you have to write by hand, because all of these low-code tools come with friendly drag and drop designers that enable declarative creation of resources inside your organization. So very specifically, Power BI. You can use Power BI Desktop to build rich analytics, visualizations, dashboards that connect to all the data wherever it exists inside of your organization. Same thing with Power Apps. It gives you the capability to build rich web and mobile applications that operate over your data. And then, of course, there's Flow. That's why you're here today, I hope, to learn about Flow. But Flow brings the automation in. It brings all of the workflow capabilities and business process management into the Power Platform. Now, the Power Platform is built on top of the data connectors. The data connectors are the way that we can reach across all of these different systems, so it's a really important component. We also are built on top of something called the Common Data Service. So the Common Data Service, if you haven't heard of it yet, is how we can store information about an organization in a common schema, so that way all the different applications you use, from Power BI to Power Apps to Flow, plus all of the Dynamics applications, Office applications, all these applications can use that data that's stored in the Common Data Service in a common schema. So this is kind of the broader picture of the Power Platform. And for the rest of the talk, I'm going to be focusing just on Microsoft Flow and how it can bring automation to your organization. So Microsoft Flow, at its core, is just about automating processes. Seems pretty simple, right? It gives the end users in an organization, as well as the developers in an organization, all the way across, the ability to model the processes that they're going through as a part of their job or that the IT department needs to roll out for their organization. And this allows them to cross all of the different services that exist there. Now, Flow can do everything from very simple automation, so something with just 2 steps. Some event happens in one system, I want to publish a message to another system. You could do that with Flow. But it can go far more beyond that, right? You could have advanced branching logic, conditionals, looping. All of these concepts exist to make it possible to build out whatever logic you need declaratively inside of your automation. Now, we have over 230 different connectors to existing systems that are out there. Plus, we have a rich extensibility mechanism, so you can connect to data as long as it's available via API, even if we don't have a built-in connector to it. That's using something that we call custom connectors. And I know there's been a couple sessions at Build already about custom connectors, so if you didn't have a chance to see those sessions, they're all recorded and are online. So if you're interested in how you can connect to your organization's own data, I would definitely recommend checking that out. Now, with all of this talk of automation, people get a little concerned about governance and security and those types of things. Luckily, with Microsoft Flow, we have a best-in-breed governance and compliance story that gives admins full visibility into everything that's happening inside of their organization. So no matter where somebody creates a flow in the company, it is always possible for an admin to see exactly what that flow is, what it did. We even provide summary analytics, so that way the admin doesn't have to inspect every single flow, right? That would be completely unscalable in a large organization. But we have analytics on top of this, so that way you can see, hey, there's a bunch of flows that are connecting to this service, or there's flows that are failing in this particular department. In addition, we have the concept of data loss prevention policies, so you can proactively block flows that would do something that is against your organization's requirements. And finally, we have the ability to connect to Azure natively from inside of Flow. So that way you can build all of your extensibility logic inside of Azure by using technologies like Azure Functions or new capabilities that have come out. And you can use that to encapsulate all of the logic that you need for your business that you want to write in code, because writing things in code is still extraordinarily valuable. But that provides an atomic block that you can call from inside of Flow, or really anything else inside of the Power Platform. So the impact of Flow is really positive already today. So this is data from a study that Forrester did last year. And they found that the ROI on Flow and Power Apps over 3 years is over 362%. It can pay itself back in terms of implementation costs in under 3 months. And I particularly like that bottom quote, where the client is saying that not only have they saved money and paid itself back, but it improves their customer's experience, because it means they can move faster as a business by reducing the time it takes them to do a quote. We reduce our time to quote from 12 days to 4. That's a 3x improvement for their end customers. And that's really the power of automation, is it's more than just reducing these menial tasks. It also means that everybody who leverages automation can do a better job of meeting their customers' needs. Now, the target audience for Flow, some people, if you've used Flow and you've been following us for a couple years, you may think that we're really focused on end users. And we definitely care a lot about end users. It's a very important audience for us. There's a lot of end users out there who are building automation, and they're very close to the line of business, so they know specifically what the needs are of their organization. But at the same time, we also are targeting pro developers. And that's why we're here at Build, because we found that pro developers get a lot of value out of Flow because it is a low-code platform, which means you don't have to worry about all of the intricacies of code management. You don't have to worry about all of the complexities and all of the things that come with managing code itself. So it's a much faster and more iterative solution than writing the equivalent thing inside of code. And when we talk about low code, we talk about things like there's a much lower barrier to entry. It's much faster to get started. The speed of iteration is obviously much higher. And there's also rich debuggability, as well as the declarative implementations can be, to a certain extent, self-documenting. If I build a flow and it shows these 5 steps, another person can look at that flow and see, hey, here are the 5 steps. If I wrote that in C#, if I do a really rigorous job of putting all my comments in and having very clean class definitions, maybe it'll be good for another person to look at that. But I think all of us know looking at other people's code can be a bit of a challenge. So by having a low-code platform, we still have a lot of the power and the flexibility of code, but it improves the end-to-end experience pretty significantly. So when we talk about Flow, we talk about everything from the most basic scenarios all the way up to those pro dev scenarios. So very concretely, inside of Flow, we have a way to get started with templates. This means that you can choose from a gallery of over 2,000 different prepackaged scenarios that we have that you can click on and just get going right away. Those templates, though, they aren't locked. It's not like I can't change it once I've created something from the template. I can customize it and adjust it and make it meet my particular needs for my application. And if I want to go beyond that, I can leverage pro dev solutions like Azure Functions and Logic Apps. Flow is also integrated deeply into Office 365 and Dynamics 365. That means that if you have existing users in your organization that are leveraging SharePoint, that are leveraging Dynamics, they're inside of OneDrive, they're moving files around, editing items, as a part of that logic, they can leverage Flow. And this is really exciting, especially when we talk about like Teams, for example. Teams has huge growth. It's very popular, right? We have Flow deeply integrated directly into Teams, and I'll show a little bit of this in the demos that will be coming up. But really, across the whole Office suite, Flow is coming to be the replacement for all of the existing workflow technologies that are out there. So SharePoint workflow, Dynamics workflow, all of those capabilities are being replaced with Microsoft Flow. And for the new services we have, like Microsoft Teams is never going to write a new workflow engine. They're just using Flow and its respective capabilities as the workflow engine for these new offerings. So let's dive into actually building automation with Microsoft Flow. So before I do the demo, I'm going to talk about some background of the 2 types of flows that exist. There are more than this, but I think these are really kind of the core concepts that you should think about. So first, we have automated flows. Automated flows, for those of you that raised your hands when you said you're already using Flow, this is probably what you've been using, right? This is the type of flow that listens to an event that happens in the cloud and does a series of actions based on that event. But we also have a type of flow called the business process flow. And that's really important if you're thinking about end-to-end process automation, because the business process flow gives you a way to model a series of stages in a human-driven process. So the automated flow allows you to create anything from a very simple process to a highly detailed process with all of the different control flow concepts that we've been talking about. An automated flow always starts with a trigger. The trigger can be any type of event that's in the cloud. It can even be events that are in on-premises systems. So if you have the on-premises data gateway installed, you can actually trigger a flow when somebody drops a file into a folder on a network share. Really, anything is possible as long as there's some sort of API to access that information. And then the actions are what the flow does. And there's really no hard limit on the number of actions you can have in a flow. There's a maintainability limit, at which point you probably want to break up your flow into multiple chunks. But really, this can do as much or as little as you'd like it to do. When you're filling out these actions, it's important that you can bring in information into that action from elsewhere in the flow. And the way to do that is by using what we call dynamic content. Dynamic content is really just a representation of the outputs of all of the previous steps in the flow. So unlike in programming, you don't need to store the state at every single step as store them as variables, because we remember the full context of everything that happened before in the flow, which means that if I have 100 actions, on action 100, I can still reference data that was input or output from action 1. Now, the dynamic content is really just a straightforward pass-through, but sometimes you need to be able to transform the data that exists inside of a flow. And you can do that by using expressions. Expressions are inspired by Excel, where you have that formula bar, and you can just type, sum or left, right, all those types of lightweight expressions. And it allows you to manipulate data in a very lightweight way. It's not a fully Turing complete programming language, but it does allow basic manipulations. So if you talk about things like inline calculations, like addition, or the ability to handle an optional value if a field is null and you want to, if it's null, replace it with something else when it's null. Those types of things you can do in expressions. So it's really valuable, and there's a nice inline experience inside of Flow that can help to document that. One of the other things I want to talk about automated flows is that you can design them using Visio. So this is a new capability that's come out this year that's available in preview. And this is particularly useful if you have detailed, complex processes that your organization wants to model and design using Flow. So what you can do is, just like you can build a flowchart in Visio by dropping on the stages and connecting them together with those lines, those connectors, and then if you have a decision point, you drop on that diamond shape that's called a gateway in BPMN. You can do that exact same thing, and all you need to do is, after you've designed your flowchart, you associate a given action in Flow with each of the shapes. So it's a great way for people to author and collaborate on building out their flow definitions. And it's also advantageous because these shapes that you draw, it doesn't actually have to represent a valid flow the entire time. Ultimately, at the end, you're going to get a flow created. But as you're authoring it, you can make it do whatever you would like. And this is the kind of the end-to-end process of building this thing out. Once you've created it, you associate it. We call it prepare for export, where you find the actions that you want each step to represent. And then you export it up to the Flow service, and it can there go and run. Now, today we don't have the ability to take a flow that's in the Flow service and generate a Visio diagram from that. But that's something that we're working on, and that will come this year. And once that happens, you can then do a full round trip of designing your flows in Visio, uploading them to the Flow service. You could make changes there if you'd like, bring it down to Visio, and continue round tripping. So Visio, in addition to the Flow Designer, which I'll be demoing, is a really powerful tool to be building out your processes. Now, I also mentioned that you can connect natively to Azure from inside of these automated flows. So automated flows give you the ability to reach into Azure Functions or Logic apps, and we have a new experience that's coming out this week, or that came out this week, where you can just natively connect to an Azure function from right inside of the Flow experience. And this means you don't have to copy and paste endpoints or URLs or any of those things across. You just select it right from a dropdown. You can see all your Azure functions, and it's just there right inside of Flow to use. So we definitely recommend, if you have additional business logic that you want to use, go to Azure, spin up an Azure function, and put it there. Now, the title of this session is Intelligent Business Process Automation, and the intelligence comes from the Azure Cognitive Services. So Azure Cognitive Services span a wide variety of subject areas, everything from analyzing text information, language understanding with Lewis, computer vision, content moderation, Q&A maker. All of these things can help you to build out intelligent processes by leveraging the power of Azure. And Flow natively connects to all of these. So if you want to use it, all you need to do is connect your Azure subscription, and then you're good to go, and you can use all of these cognitive services capabilities to build out an intelligent process that uses all of this AI. So the other type of flow that I mentioned is business process flows. These business process flows enable you to define a series of stages. And these stages are really useful because they provide an anchor point that you can then base things like process analytics on top of. When you build a business process flow, you need to think about two different things. You need to think about what the data model is. So what is the fields, the information that will be stored with each respective stage inside of your process. And then you need to actually model the stages themselves. So when you look at a business process flow, what you'll see is a series of stages laid out. And these are really representing the logical units. Then what you have is you have the data steps that are on each one of these stages. And the data step is all about the information that is associated with that flow. With that, I'm going to switch over to the demo. So what I'm going to be demoing today is just parts of a basic employee onboarding process. And the way that this process will work is I'm going to have a form that's going to submit an employee onboarding request. It's going to go through a series of stages. I'll show some different automated flows that can run based on that. And at the end, I'll also show how all of that connects together. And you can even have Power Apps that are based on that process as well. So when you first come to the Flow experience, for those of you who have seen this before, you know that we have this convenient homepage where you can see a bunch of templates and ways to get started with Flow. The templates are definitely the easiest place to get started. So since this is an employee onboarding process, I'm going to look at some of these templates around HR. Well, so right here it says I can hire, onboard, and manage people easier, which is great. And you can see these templates can connect to both Microsoft services as well as third-party services. So we have templates, for example, with DocuSign, where this is a third-party service, and you can get a notification right whenever a document is signed in DocuSign. But for this demo, I want to automatically create something for a new candidate. So I can click on this template, and then what I'm going to be presented with is what are the connections that I'm going to use. Now, because Flow uses Azure Active Directory, this is automatically signed in for me. I don't have to enter my username or password or anything like that. It just uses that same identity that you use in every other Microsoft application that you have. Once you continue into the Flow, it's going to present me with a few actions right out of box. This is the advantage of a template, is I don't necessarily have to start from scratch. I get these steps that work right here. So the first thing that I need to do is I need to pick which form is my actual employee onboarding form. So I can see here I have a sample user onboarding form that I've already created in Microsoft Forms, and I can select that. Now, what I want to do is instead of storing this form information inside of SharePoint, I actually want to use the Common Data Service. Because if I store the information in the Common Data Service, I can then build my business process flows on top of it. So I can come here and say, I'm going to remove this step, so I'm going to customize this flow, and I'm going to create a record in the Common Data Service. So when I search here, it's going to search across all of the different actions that I have, and it's going to find the particular action that I want, create a new record. When I select that, it gives me the ability to choose which environment in the Common Data Service am I going to use. And for this particular flow, I'm just going to use the current environment that my flow is running in. And I've already created an entity before this demo that I can store that employee information into. So this is part of the Common Data Service. So I can simply search for onboarding. And you can see here, onboarding employees. And now I need to fill out the individual parts of this step. So this is where the dynamic content comes in. So the response details from Microsoft Forms has a series of things. So this is what the form looks like. I choose, am I going to be a contributor or a manager? What's my name? What's my suggested email address? Who is onboarding me? You can imagine this form could be as complex or as simple as you'd like. But when I come back to Flow, you can see I'm going to get this dynamic content over here. And it's the exact same fields that I had from Microsoft Forms. So these fields show up as outputs from this action. So I can pass into the name field here the answer to the question that was filled out in Microsoft Forms. And I can get to additional fields and see I've added a bunch of other data, but I also want to get the type filled out based on the type that you selected inside of the form that you had. So I'm going to fill that in as well. So now if I click Save, I should have a fully functioning process that will automatically create a record inside of the Common Data Service whenever a new form is submitted. So whenever you're building out flows, I always recommend testing them first. And you can test it by performing the trigger action. So I'm going to say I'm going to perform the trigger action. So what I need to do now is switch over to Microsoft Forms. And if I preview this form, I can suggest a new employee. I already used David. I'll use John. And John, let's say, is going to be a manager. I can suggest an email. And I am going to be the owner. And as soon as I do this, it's going to submit the form to Microsoft Forms. And then within a second or two, that should trigger the flow over here. You can see now the flow is running. And that was really fast. It's really just a very basic flow, so it's not too complicated. But it got the response details and created a new record in the Common Data Service. So that's how fast I was able to build out that automation by leveraging that template. So now what I want to do is I want to think about, OK, what is the full business process that I'm really automating? And this is where the business process flows come in. So the business process flows you can access from right inside of the flow experience. So if I go to My Flows and switch to the business process flows, I can see that I've created some already here. So I have this employee onboarding process that I created. Now, the business process flow requires you to think a little bit about, OK, how am I going to have the different stages I want to walk through? And when you think about stages, you want to think about where is the time going to be spent, and how do I want to have visibility into all of this time? So in this particular process for employee onboarding, what I'm going to do is I'm going to first have that application be reviewed, that submission. Then I need to have some conditional logic, because depending on the application, I may or may not want to have an executive review the application, or maybe I just need a basic review. So you can add that conditional logic right inside of the business process flow. After it's been reviewed, I want the resources to be created. So I need to kick off some automation that's going to create their identity in Azure Active Directory. I'm going to make sure that they get a mailbox. I'm going to make sure that they're provisioned in our legacy HR systems. So I can do that all in this stage. And then if they're a local employee, I need to send off a notification to set up their desk. So I've modeled this entire process out. And now I can track, as the employee walks through this process, what is happening to them. So if we switch to a quick, lightweight app that I've created, I can come in here and see the employees that are onboarding. So I just filled in John, I think. So you can see John is now an active onboarding employee, created at, I guess this is a different time zone than my machine. But if I click on John, then I can see that business process flow. And you may notice that these steps right here reflect the stages that I had inside of this business process. So if we remember, the conditions for this are, in order to go to an executive review, in order to go to a basic review, the type can't be a manager. So if I come in here and see the employee onboarding, you see it's going to executive review, but the type is a manager. So if I change this to somebody else, non-manager, and then I hit save, it's not changing yet, but there's also one other condition that I added there. So there's going to be a flow that I'll build in just a moment. But you see it automatically updated the next step based on the condition. So what was that other thing that I was just doing? Well, I added an and here, and I want to validate the sentiment of this application review. So to do that, I'm going to use cognitive services. And what I can do is I've already built out a flow that can do this by building it from scratch. But I can show you how to do this as well. So inside of Flow, we have this concept that's called solutions. And solutions are a very important application lifecycle management process. It's how you can bring together all of your assets and move them from one environment to another. So as a part of this employee onboarding process, I've created a solution that contains all of the data as well as the flows for my process. And you can see here that I created a flow that's going to look at the sentiment of the review. So this flow is stored in the solution. And for those of you that have a lot of flows, we've gotten a lot of feedback where people say, hey, my flow list is really, really long. I want some way to group these things together. Well, solutions are the answer, because this solution only contains 6 or 7 things. I could have hundreds of flows, but the solution is just the things that I'm focused and working on as a part of this experience. But let's take a look at this flow and what it does. So this flow I built from scratch. I didn't use anything out of box. And what I'm doing is I'm connecting to Azure Cognitive Services. So let's just see how easy is it to debug this flow and see exactly what happened. Well, I can come in here and click on the run history and see all of the inputs and outputs of this flow. Just like that form, I can look at the sentiment of the previous iteration of this flow. You can see for David, who is the previous employee, it had a sentiment that was pretty bad. So now, why don't I leave some review comments for John, and let's see what that flow does. So I can come back to John, and in the application review, I'm going to say, this is a great, awesome opportunity, if I can spell correctly. I'll do a smiley face as well. So now I can hit save, and those review notes will be there. So this flow that I created, if I come back here and refresh, should now automatically pick up the fact that that new record was updated. And let's look at what the sentiment of this was. So I can come in here. I created this flow to trigger based on that employee record being updated. And I can look at the sentiment and see, oh, this is a really positive score, right? So David, not such a great employee. But John, that's 4 9s. That means that this is a really great review. And if I come back into the application here and refresh, what I'll see is that record has been updated. And it rounds all the way up right to 1. So this is a very high sentiment process. So what I've been able to do is add some intelligence into this flow, right? Based on the score of this text analytics AI capability, I can then go and branch and go down different logic depending on what I want. So the last flow that I want to build out is a flow that can send a notification to Microsoft Teams based on the user moving to a new stage. So what I can do here is I can come back to my solution, and I'm going to create a new flow. So in this new flow, I'm going to, again, listen to that business process flow stage changing. So I'm going to go to current environment. So when a record is created in the current environment, and I actually want when the record is updated, and let's say when the employee onboarding process changes. So employee onboarding process, and I want this to apply to all of the processes in my organization. Then what I can do is I can post to Microsoft Teams. And one of the new capabilities we have is to leverage adaptive cards. So adaptive cards are a way to visualize information in a very simple way that can be used across many different clients. So if you're using Microsoft Teams today and you wanted to send something more than just a basic little line of text, you can actually include images, descriptions, all of these things to make it really great to interact with a flow and its outputs inside of Teams. And these adaptive cards come with this nice designer where I can come in and I can edit right inside here, and it will update this card. The adaptive card is a JSON object that I can then pass directly into Teams. So I can come here and say I'm going to post an adaptive card to the user. I'm going to choose who to post it to. So since this is just the demo, I'm going to post it to myself. In the actual process, this would probably be like the manager of the employee that would get this. And then I hit save. This will create that flow in that solution, which means it'll be packaged up with everything else. And whenever this process is updated, whenever I move to a new stage inside the process, it's going to go and send that message out. So I can come back to that process one more time and say, I'm now ready to move on to the basic review stage. And as soon as I do that, it should actually have kicked off this flow here. So let's take a look. And it will potentially take a few seconds to sync. So let's give it one more try. Well, luckily I have a backup flow that does the same thing, and we can see that here. And if we take a look at what this did, when the stage was updated, it went and posted that card to Teams. So I can come to Teams and see this is what that adaptive card looks like. And you can see this is very nicely formatted. You can customize this to meet whatever your needs are. And really the advantage of this is this means you can now richly create beautiful experiences that don't even require a full application. This card could contain all the information that your users need to interact with whatever systems you have and whatever automation you'd like inside of your organization. So with that, I'm going to switch back to the slides and talk a little bit more about how to test and monitor your flows. So I already showed you the test button, but one of the other things that the test button can do is it gives you the capability to rerun the flow on previous iterations. So if something had gone wrong, for example, and I wanted to be able to replay those messages that went through the flow the first time, I could actually do that by using that test button and resubmitting that data from the previous iterations of the flow. With Flow, you also can get automatic emails when things go wrong. But most importantly, there's the concept of error handling steps. And what an error handling step allows you to do is to have a remediation action that runs if something goes wrong. And that action is guaranteed to run as soon as that failure happens. So it's not like some sort of batch job that runs later that sends you an alert based on some sort of aggregate. These error handling steps are immediate and guaranteed, which means that if you want to get a notification as quickly as, say the record to update that employee had failed in that flow, I could get a notification immediately via any mechanism I want, in Teams or via SMS. Plus, I could actually roll back previous operations in my flow if I wanted. If I wanted to be able to undo something because something had gone wrong, I could do that by creating error handling steps as well. And you could do that by, inside the Flow Designer, going to configure the run after for a given flow action. Additionally, we have rich analytics from monitoring your flows. And I'll show exactly how this works in a moment. But these allow you to see across all the history of your flow, when it failed, what types of error codes you were seeing, what those issues were. And it allows you to then drill into that particular instance of the flow. And finally, the other really important aspect of having an intelligent process is being able to continuously improve and observe what's happening. So with the business process flows, we have the ability to look at the series of stages that you have and to identify the time spent in each of those stages, to look at the variance across all of each month, as well as a full process map. So I will show this as well. So this is the automated flow analytics that we have. And you can see here that this particular flow has not been very successful. If I go to the overall usage of the flow, you can see it's never succeeded. That's because I created this flow to intentionally fail, so I could demo some sort of failures. But you can see we break it down by error type as well as the messages that happen. And what you can do is, for any one of these failures, you can get a link directly to a particular run that has that exact failure. And when you click on it, it takes you to that particular error message. And then you can see exactly what happened and exactly what the code is. So in this particular case, there is an unauthorized, which means probably my token is no longer valid. And then I can go in and I can fix this. And using that test functionality I mentioned, I could resubmit this once I have fixed that unauthorized connection by repairing it. Now, with the process analytics, we have the ability to look at all of the stages in that business process. So that's why it's really important when you think about your business process to think about how do you want to track its success? How do you want to track the motion through it? So in this particular process, this is a document review process, you can see over here on the transition graph how users are flowing through this process. All of them are getting to that first stage, but only 13% are getting to the branding stage, and then only 8% to the legal stage, and henceforth. So this process really is not a very successful process. But you can even go deeper and say, where are people spending the most time? Where are they getting stuck? You can do that by looking at this experience here. And what this shows you is across all of those stages that I defined in the business process flow, how many hours are being spent in this stage across all of those different things. And you can see it month over month. So you could use this, for example, to identify, is there a case where I made a change to the process, say back in February, and suddenly people are performing much worse at it? This can allow you to identify where you need to improve your process and the types of things you need to change to make it more efficient. And with that, I'm going to spend a few minutes talking about application lifecycle management. So when you think about ALM, the way that we do it inside of Flow is no different than most of the systems that you can imagine that are out there. So the first thing you have to do is you have to set up what we call environments. Then you have to do what I just demoed, the building of the process, the definition of the automated logic, and then you need to be able to deploy it, and finally monitor and iterate. And that creates a loop, right? Once you have developed your solution and deployed it, you're going to continue to improve it and go back through that process again. So just to talk about the core concepts, there's two really important concepts to be aware of. The first is called an environment. And the environment is the total sum of everything that you're working on. And in the demos, I had kind of one environment that had all of the entities, all of the business process flows, all of the different things, the apps that I wanted to be able to work on. But I don't want people really should never be developing in production. What that means is you shouldn't be going in right into your production system and jitting in and deploying code and doing all of those things, right? What you want to do is you want to build in a development environment, validate it, and then move that entire set of things into a production environment. And this approach is 100% supported today with Microsoft Flow. And it's a little bit like the concept of subscriptions in Azure, although not exactly. Many people have different deployment topologies in Azure. But for environments, every organization has one environment to start off with, but you can create additional ones in the new Power Platform Admin Center. And you can switch between environments using that control at the top right of the Flow portal. Now, once you have your environment set up, you then create those solutions. And this is what I was showing earlier. The solution is really a group. It's a collection of different assets that can be moved from environment to environment. So in your development environment, you're going to have that solution. And with us, we had the business process flow and the entity and the common data service and those flows. And you can move those to production. And this is important because this is a single atomic operation, right? It's not going to deploy some things and then not some other things, which would result in your application being in a weird, inconsistent state. Bringing it together as a single unit means that you can be guaranteed that all of the stuff that you tested and validated in that development environment is then live in that production environment. These solutions, you can access them from right inside of the Flow portal. And unlike resource groups in Azure, a single asset could actually be in multiple solutions. Depending on your deployment topology, you may want maybe an intermediate test environment that has some subset of assets that you then move to your production environment. So it's a very flexible system. Luckily, there is actually a whole session talking about ALM and CI/CD later today at 5 p.m. in Ballroom B, which I guess is 2 doors down. So if this is a topic that's interesting to you, I definitely recommend checking it out. They'll be diving deep into all the different aspects of how to continuously deploy the solutions like the ones that I showed you today. So the last major topic that I want to cover is flow and logic apps. So this is a very common question. So when we talk about flow and logic apps, really the key is what is the scenario that you're trying to do? So with logic apps, this is an integration solution. It's something that brings together data from all of the different systems that you have. And it's really about this back-end integration. It's about B2B and enterprise messaging, taking advantage of technologies that you may already have, like BizTalk Server deployed in your on-premises systems. And it allows you to tap into the power of Azure. So logic apps is this really powerful integration capability. With Flow, we're focused more on end-user-focused process automation. That's the automation that happens for end users. And it can be leveraged right inside of Dynamics and Office and all of those other end-user-facing applications out there. With Flow, we've added this concept on top of the business process flows that give you the ability to model these stages so you can track progress as your end-to-end process continues. And we also have integrations with a Flow mobile app, for example. There's a mobile application you can get that you can use to start automation right from your phone and get push notifications very easily. And Flow ultimately runs the same infrastructure that Logic Apps does. So it's all secure in Azure, highly scalable, highly performant. Now, sometimes I get questions like this, or people will say, well, Flow is only per user. You can't build a service account with Flow. Or its monitoring capabilities are limited, or it's only for personal processes. It's not enterprise grade. Well, all of this is wrong. The underlying engine is the exact same engine between Logic Apps and Flow. So the same types of accounts are supported. It has rich analytics and supports ALM, like I was talking about. So when you think about Flow versus Logic Apps, don't think about Flow as a worse version of Logic Apps. Think about what are the scenarios you're trying to accomplish. So at the end of the day, use Logic Apps. If your solution is already in Azure, Logic Apps is almost certainly going to be the right call. You can deploy and manage those resources in Azure alongside your Logic Apps. If you want to use those B2B connectors, or you have a Visual Studio solution that already has other Azure assets, definitely Logic Apps is the right choice. But on the flip side, if your solution involves working with Dynamics, working with Office, doing human-driven approval processes, then look at Microsoft Flow. Flow has the ability to reach into our rich mobile application and a lot of integration with Power BI and with Power Apps. So I definitely hope that this has helped a little bit in explaining the difference between these two offerings. So to wrap up, I wanted to spend just a minute talking about kind of our future plans. Where are we going with Flow? What are our big investment areas? So the first investment area that we have is around bringing smarter experiences to Flow. So I showed the ability to use cognitive services inside of Flow, but we're going to continue to invest in that and bring things like AI analysis of your flows, so that way it can identify where common issues are and provide recommendations. So we're going to be adding more and more of these AI capabilities to Flow in the coming months. We're going to be continuing to double down on helping people to migrate away from SharePoint workflow, which is deprecated, as well as technologies like Dynamics workflow. So we want to get people onto the modern stack as quickly as possible, so we're improving those integrations. And finally, we're going to be adding more and more enterprise-grade governance experiences, so that way admins can feel comfortable that betting on Flow for their whole organization is the right choice. Now, for Flow, you can definitely go deeper by leveraging Microsoft Learn. Learn is a new website that came out, I think, just about 6 months ago that has a whole bunch of courses, not unique to Flow. For Build, there's a ton of Azure courses on Microsoft Learn as well. So I definitely recommend checking that out. That's going to be your #1 place to go to get started to learn about the capabilities that we have inside of Microsoft. So there's Flow, there's Power BI, Power Apps, and a whole bunch of Azure things to get started with as well. And finally, if you want to connect to us directly, please stop by the Flow booth. We're here all day, so we're happy to talk to you if you have specific one-on-one questions. And you could join the Flow community. We have a really active community online on the Flow website, so definitely check that out. We also have in-person user groups that you can get started with. That'll be wherever you are. So with that, I have about 10 minutes left for questions. So if you have questions, please come up to the mic, and I am happy to answer them.
Yeah, so great talk. It was really interesting. So you showed the BPMN stencils, Visio, and I wonder if you could clarify, so I have two questions. Clarify how far you're going in terms of like supporting BPMN as an open standard and like serialization from a BPMN diagram, anything along those lines. And secondly, there's this companion standard DMN, right, for decision tables. Do you have any plans around DMN?
Great. Yeah, those are great questions. So today inside of Visio, we use the same base shapes that BPMN uses, but we don't support the full set of all BPMN capabilities. So BPMN is very rich, and there isn't necessarily a good way to model all of those different aspects inside of Flow. So if you do that inside of Visio, then when you try to export that to the Flow service, it won't go up. And as well as, for looking at other standards, we're always looking at other ways to integrate. So we don't have any immediate plans for that, but it is something that we'll continue to consider going forward. Okay. Right, thank you.
Hi, thank you so much for this talk. So I started playing with Flow just a little bit, so I'm kind of a noob. One of the things I was trying to do was just something simple like read some data out of an Excel spreadsheet sitting in OneDrive.
Yep.
And it had an error, and all it gave me was like this GUID. And I'm like, okay, how do I troubleshoot what's going on with my flow? Where is the actual real error at?
Yep.
Because I just got stuck, and then I'm like, well, I'll go do something else. So I didn't know what's kind of come in the last few months around troubleshooting, or where are those logs kept, that sort of thing.
So what you encountered generally shouldn't happen. So our goal is that the error messages that we give to people are descriptive and rich, and they have everything that you need to do to repair the issue. So if you ever encounter an error message that's just a GUID, that means something probably went wrong in our ability to tell you what went wrong. So there aren't, unfortunately, additional logs that you can access directly that would give you those details. If there were, we would have shown the error message to you. So for cases like that, if it's necessary, you can open a support ticket, and we can see if there are other logs that maybe we have access to that you don't, that can help you to resolve that issue.
Thank you.
So I've been messing a little bit with Flow as well, and I saw you can move flows like from my flows to the team flows, the tab next to that. But I'm just wondering, because I'm sort of logging in with my own credentials in, for example, Outlook plugin and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So how does that translate if I go into if I migrate it to a team flow? Like, are those people going to be able to use my credentials, or how is that working?
That's a great question. So when you create a flow, by default, it starts in My Flows. And it goes to a team flow by virtue of you sharing that flow with somebody else. Right? So if you add a security group or you add another user, they now have access to that flow. And there's a big warning that pops up when you do that says, hey, this person can edit this flow, which means that they can do things with your connections. Now, they can't get the credentials out. There's no way to get credentials out of Flow. So it's secure that way, so they can't get your password. They also can't use your connections in a different flow. So you can always see what they're doing. But they could, if, for example, you created a flow that sent an email, and then you shared that flow with me so I could edit it, I could adjust that email to say something rude. That would be possible, and it would look like it came from you. So it's really important when you do share flows, if you're sharing them for other people to edit them, that either you use something like a service account, so that way it's an independent account, or that you trust the person that you're sharing it with, that they could use that connection to do something that you don't want them to. Yeah, that's a great question.
Do interactions with flows have to take place exclusively in the flows UI, or can you create flows that, for example, use adaptive cards in Outlook and the interactions take place that way?
That's a great question. So we do support adaptive cards inside of Outlook as well as Microsoft Teams. So like the adaptive card that I showed in the demo, that was sent to teams that had a button on it. I didn't wire that button up to do anything, but you actually can send these buttons to Microsoft Teams or to Outlook that can then do something. So I could have a button inside of an adaptive card that goes off and sends information to a flow or opens a URL or sends an email, all of those basic things. So adaptive cards are really great technology, and yeah, we definitely support using that from Flow as well. Any other questions?
Yeah, if I have a dev environment and a production environment, and I want to have the environment-specific settings, are there anywhere I can put them?
So today, the only way to do this is to create an entity inside of the two respective environments stored in the common data service. And because the common data service is tied to each environment, you can use that to store config data. However, that's a bit heavyweight. So we are working on adding what we're calling environment variables, which the name is kind of self-explanatory. But basically, variables that are tied to the environment that you can then reference from directly inside of the flow. And you can create and author them from inside of the flow experience, and you can have them set to different values in different environments.
So I've seen a couple of other things. For example, the integration with Teams. So I've used the adaptive cards as well. And when I did that, I basically got a notification like Flow send you a card. Which I'm like, okay, I get this 10 times a day, so I would like to know like more information. So does the Flow team like develop those connectors, or is that something that is like delegated to the team, so to say?
So for the most part, the respective owner of the service is the person building the connectors. So we've added a whole bunch of third-party services recently. Those are all built by those respective services. Now, the Teams connector happens to be something that we've built, just because it's kind of really core to our experience and we own the add-in. However, the specific thing you're noting is the toast that comes up if you send an adaptive card, just says sent a card. That is actually a limitation of the Teams client itself. Even if you send yourself a card via something other than Flow, you would actually see that same kind of limited thing. So we've been talking to the Teams team about adding some smarter logic to that to kind of try to extract the title of the card or something, so that way when you get that toast, it does more than just say a card, right? Which isn't super useful.
So when we are working with the flows, right, like when the flow fails out for a particular reason, so when we want to send a mail, we want to send that log of that particular step, what it got failed. So currently there is no provision. So how can we get that particular thing when we want to send it out as a fail kind of message?
Yeah, so inside of the flow, you can add that error handling step that I was talking about. And one of the things you can do, and this requires writing expressions, but you can actually look and see what is the status of any of the steps inside of the flow, right? So you can actually look at that and say, hey, if the status of this step was failed, then I'm going to say that like step 5 failed. And you can even get the error message from that step and include that if you're sending out, say, a notification or you're creating an incident tracking system. You can actually get all the information, but that does require writing an expression to pull that information.
Is it opened as a expression kind of things where we can extract that particular step where it got failed or something?
Yeah, so basically a given action has a series of outputs, which you can actually see in the expression builder, and one of the outputs is its status as well as its error message. So you can actually reference those inside of the expression.
Thank you.
Hi.
Yeah, you gotta get those steps in.
I'm so new to this, I'm a little afraid even speaking to a microphone. But my business is commercial software, selling up commercial software. And I wonder, is there a place for flows deliverable web applications to be sort of integrated and add value, or is this sort of an enterprise end user app? I'm trying to understand.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So Microsoft Flow supports embedding into web applications. So if you have a web application and you want to be able to add in some sort of customization of workflow for your application, you can actually do that. We have an SDK that's available where you can take the Flow designer and the different pieces and embed them into your application. Now, the limitation of that is that whoever ends up using that capability inside of the Flow does have to have a Flow license. Now, for ISVs, we have a program where you can basically buy licenses on behalf of your customers. So that way, the end user doesn't have to go pay for Flow or Office themselves. You can basically do it on their behalf. But there isn't a way, so like Power BI, for example, has this concept of Power BI embedded where you kind of pay per transaction as opposed to by user license. We don't have that type of capability today. But if you're okay basically getting a license for each user that uses your application, you can absolutely embed Flow and all of its capabilities and kind of white label it to do what you need for your app.
We saw that particular analytics kind of thing in the Flow, right? So is there a way that we can export these things into the Power BI and I can able to view it in the Power BI itself?
So the analytics about the business process flows, those you can actually access from directly inside of Power BI because all that data is stored in the common data service, so you can get at that directly. For the analytics of the flow success and failure rate, at the moment we don't have the ability to pull that directly from Power BI, but that is something that we're looking at adding. So I think I am pretty much at time. So if anybody has other questions, I'll stick around for a few minutes and I'll be up at the booth later in the day. So thanks a lot for sticking around.